up guys? What's up cycling? Fanatics! I'm on my way to the Simac Omloop der Kempen, which is a top competition in the Netherlands. I'm driving to Veldhoven. That's where the race is starting. I'm a little bit late. I was supposed to ride with a teammate. He had a mechanical issue this morning, so I waited for him, but I decided to leave by myself with my own car. Then there was a road closure, which costed me extra half an hour. So I'm gonna arrive about an hour before the race. So I still have to change into my kit, get the food ready, get the bike ready for the race and everything. But let me talk about the race. It will be 190 kilometers, so it's a long race. We're gonna have cobbles and narrow roads. And it's a top competition, so all the pro teams are present. It's high level racing. This used to be a UCI 1.2 race in the past, and now it's part of the top competition. So serious racing today. I raced this race last year. I had a very hard race, but I think I finished close to top 20. You can see the video from last year if you want to have a look at that. I remember I had serious cramps, so I hope this year is gonna be better. The weather today is very gray, but it's not super cold. It's nice. Right now it's 15 degrees. It's gonna warm up during the day to about 20, so that's actually pretty good. It's not very windy, which in general means the race is gonna be less hard in terms of crosswind, echelons, riding the gutter, peloton breaking up into pieces. So in general, when the wind is not very strong, it's gonna stay together, which means it's gonna be a sprint at the end, which means if I have good legs, it's favorable for me. So I went to Curacao and back this week, did some training there. I arrived 2 days ago, had a good sleep last night. The night before was terrible because of the jet lag, but I feel okay. Usually my legs feel like crap on race day. I don't know why. Maybe it's the tension or my legs just feel crap always. I'm not sure, but legs are, you know, they feel all right at the moment. So we're gonna see. My last 2 races didn't end in a result because the last race I broke the bike. Race before, the race got cancelled because of the accident with Robert de Greef. So yeah, I'm looking forward to racing again and to get a finish and to get a place. Booyah!
Today I'm number 104. In about 10 minutes we have to go to sign our presents, so I have to be ready for that. It's good I'm late because I get some extra adrenaline. Yes! Get a little bit of tension. Anyway, we're gonna sign and then afterwards we'll do the team meeting to talk about the race. Jarno is really late as well. Right now I'm just pinning on the numbers and then changing into the kit. It's nice and warm, so I think I'm just gonna go completely naked into the skin suit, which is actually kind of funny. While you're riding, the only thing which is sort of making you be not completely naked is like this 1 millimeter thin suit of lycra. Rock and roll.
Alright, and that's the start of a race, the top competition Omloop van de Braakman, 190 kilometers with pro teams and club teams. I'm in a club team. It's 8 riders per team and there's 22 teams present today, so that's roughly 180 riders. That's a lot. It's a big peloton. The start was pretty chill on this race. Usually the neutralization is kind of chaotic, but it was okay. I think everybody really knew that the wind was not that strong, and like in 50 kilometers from the start there was a point sprint up a bridge for the climbing points, and then maybe after that sprint the race was really starting, so everybody was maybe a little bit more chill than normally. It's never really chill, but I've seen a lot of crashes during neutralization. In this race it wasn't that bad. This whole race was going to be twists and turns.
You'll see a bunch of bigger roads sometimes, but it always will be a short part on that big road, and then there's going to be a sharp turn onto a small road, and more sharp turns and more sharp turns. So that's actually the thing that makes you tired. Riding in the peloton at 50 kilometers an hour is kind of easy. You get sucked in the draft. You don't have to push that hard. But if it's a sharp turn every couple hundred meters, it means you have to brake all the way down to maybe 20 kilometers an hour or even slower, and then accelerate back up to 50. That's what you're going to see in this race. A lot of braking, a lot of acceleration, and we have cobbles. This race is very known for a lot of cobble sections, and something that you're going to see and I'm going to discuss during this race video. A lot of cobbles. Anyway, the track layout you see at the top right is not entirely correct. I had a freezing up of my computer halfway through the race, so it's all a bit clipped into 2 sections. So you will see where we are on the map, but it's not the complete race. This is where the neutralization was over. This is where it's gonna go fast, where the speeds go up. You can see it straight away. Approaching 50 kilometers an hour already, and yeah, it was a big road, so kind of easy, but there were these mid berms in the middle. I remember this from last year. I raced this race last year, had a really hard time. I really thought it was a super hard race, especially on those cobbles that you'll see later. But these mid berms was kind of tricky because we're doing 50k an hour in a bunched up peloton, and then there's this massive mid berm in the middle, so everybody has to sort of slide over. And so right now we're gonna go left and then get on a bunch of smaller roads. As you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. Turning to the left, turning to the right, and then every time you brake down all the way to what, 20k or less, and you have to accelerate because the rest is riding 50 kilometers an hour. So it's really a lot of acceleration, which is taking a lot of power. I always try to sort of minimize the peak powers after the corners, so I find that's really what's making me tired and what's reducing my sprint on the long run. So I really try to accelerate, but not like really hard. Maybe some guys will overtake me a little bit coming out of a turn. I don't mind. They'll fill up the gaps, and I just get in their wheel. Right here you can see some road furniture that we have to avoid. Some roundabouts. So yeah, it was a lot of stuff going on during the race. It was not just a big road doing 15 minutes of straight in a peloton. No, it was always cornering, turning, avoiding. So really had to stay sharp the whole time. Right here the road is a bit more narrow. Everything is together. It's only 20 minutes into the race, but it was pretty chill. As you can see, my heart rate is really low, and I'm just following, you know, in the belly of the peloton, not too worried. I didn't want to be too far in the front. I did not want to be all the way in the back. I figured if I stay in the middle and about halfway of the race, I'll go to the front, see what's going on, and maybe try to get into a move. Or if it's just gonna stay together till the end, I would still feel kind of fresh. Well, in the Netherlands we use all the roads. So if it's a sidewalk or a bike lane, it doesn't matter. Usually there's a rule you're not allowed to go on the bike lane next to the road. And if I see you do it, you might get a penalty for it. But these moments are actually ways to move up in the field. So you'll see riders just go on the bike lanes and everything. Almost an hour in the race, and I'm just chatting to a guy from the Lotto under 23 team from Belgium. Here you can see me having some food. So eat your bars in the beginning of the race. I've got a video about it. Go check it out. I'll explain everything I eat before, during, and after a race. So if you want to know more about food, go check out that video. And especially during an easy moment of the race like this, or the whole entire first hour or first 2 hours when it's not going that hard, make sure you get your food in here's a crash. That was the first crash I saw, actually, I think. Probably just a clumsy moment. So the first hour or two, get your food in so you are well fueled for when it gets really hard, because it will always get hard at some point. It's never gonna be chill riding the entire race. Right now we are approaching that mountain sprint, or it's actually a climbing point sprint onto a bridge, which is only gonna be, I don't know, like 6 meters of elevation, but that's the only elevation we had in this race. So you'll see guys hammering it down. As you can see now, we're doing 55k an hour, which is a positioning thing. And now we're riding up this bridge. We're still doing 50k an hour, so it's a 50k an hour climb. Kind of crazy, but I was not in the front at all, but in the front they will be sprinting for points. So here I'm at the front, totally at the front of the peloton. As you can see, it's really chill. These guys were just chatting to each other. It was 2 former teammates, and they're in the front just pedaling easy. You can see the motorcycles right in front of us, which is the judges and the first few police motorcycles. And yeah, hour into the race, nothing is going on. It's really easy. I had some problems with my computer. I wasn't sure why. One of you guys mentioned maybe it's the proximity of the camera that's so close to the computer, and that's why it's jamming. And I'm testing with this. This might be a possibility. At the moment right now I'm all the way in the front. I figured I'm gonna go to the front and just see what happens. All these tight turns will give you a lot of this accordion effect. I had to think about that. I wanted to say harmonica again, but it's not the harmonica, it's the accordion. Here we are on the cobbles. So with what I was saying with tight turns, it's better to be in the front, because in the front you can go through the turns so much faster and you can actually save energy while you're keeping your momentum. If you're in the peloton and you go through all these sharp turns, every time you have to brake and accelerate a lot. So that's really what's costing energy. And you think you're in the draft the whole time, but since the drafting parts are so short, it's actually better to stay within the first, in a criterium, probably the first 10 in a big race like this, maybe the first 20, 30 riders, and this will actually save you a little bit of energy. Right now it's getting a little bit more full on the road. Guys are starting to push a little bit more and be close to each other. I have no speed anymore, but I still have power and heart rate. So the data you see is correct. There's just some data missing. I'll try to restart the computer, which takes a little bit, so I lost a little bit of the race, but I still have everything until the finish, so don't worry. Here I'm working on restarting the computer. It takes a while, and then I had it going again. The time you see now at the top left is the time from when I restart the computer, so add about an hour and a half to that, so you know where we are in the race. The track layout at the top right is actually the last part of the race. It is going a little faster right now. In this race there was a lot of really chill moments, and then at some point people will start attacking at the front, and that's when the whole peloton would speed up. I was just safely in the belly on these bigger, longer, straight roads, just chilling, totally not getting tired. And then the reason why I was going fast was this exact part, the cobbles. So from about, well, an hour and a half in this race, the cobbles were starting. And you'll see the cobbles in the middle here, and then on the sides, there's 2 narrow strips of bricks, which is still bumpy, but not as bumpy as the cobbles in the middle. So everybody prefers to ride on this little strip, but there's no space. So it's all single file. So we're doing single file on the left and on the right. And this is moving over between the left and the right side of the road, as you can see here. And then there's no space to get in, but you still want to get in. So you try to squeeze in. It's like getting on a highway in a traffic, and then nobody lets you in. You're just gonna sort of go in anyway. It's kind of hard, and then when somebody else wants to get in, squeeze in front of you, you sort of don't give him space, because everyone that squeezes in front of you will push you back another 2 or 3 meters. And since it's single file already, it's such a long line of riders. If something happens in the front, if somebody attacks and you are in wheel 100, that means 250 or 300 meters back. So you'll never be able to react. So that's the tricky part of these parts when it's going single file, is that the peloton stretches out so far that it's impossible to see what's going on in the front of the race. Now we're on a bigger road, but since we just got back from the cobbles and it was all stretched out, you still have to push out and pedal pretty hard, and then eventually everything comes back together. What you just saw, there's like a big group in the front and we're all riding back together. But it doesn't take long until we go to the next cobble section. So on these in between parts where there's no cobbles, it was still going really fast, because it was a sort of a battle for position to at least start the next cobble section fairly in the front, and you don't want to start in the back. If you're in the back, right here you can see what I just talked about. Guys are coming from the left. They want to squeeze in. But we don't want them to squeeze in, because we don't want to get pushed back. So if you are all the way in the back and you're on a cobble section like this and it's single file and it would break up anywhere in the peloton, you will always be behind that breakup, which means you'll always get pushed back in at least the second or third or fourth group. Because if you're in the back, there's no way you can close that gap, because first of all, you don't even know there's a gap. Second of all, by the time you get to the gap, it's already a couple hundred meters. So that's what's really hard about, you know, getting your position right in these races. I was trying to move forward a little bit during these intermediate sections without cobbles. As you can see there, I'm going through this turn on the inside. There's always a little bit of room on the inside, well, most of the time. And here we are straight back into another cobble section. And these sections, I remember this from last year, were so hard. There was more wind last year, so it makes it harder, because there's no draft when there's wind from the side and you're in a single file. It's like riding in the gutter. Even though you're in second wheel or third wheel, you're still riding in the gutter in terms of drafting, because you have to ride right behind the guy in front of you. You can't go right a little bit next to him, because then you'll be either on the cobbles or you'll be in the grass. So these sections were super hard last year, but this year I did not have that much of trouble with it. My heart rate here is a little bit higher, but it's not even close to my threshold yet. And the way I felt was a big difference. Sometimes you feel like your legs are dying and you're pushing 10 beats below your threshold. And sometimes you're pushing 10 beats below your threshold and you just feel like your legs are amazing. Well, that's what I had this day. I could push out that power easily. My heart rate was up, but it felt easy. So I was really feeling good in this race. I was like, okay, I've got the legs. We are over 2 hours in this race, and I felt really good. The race was going to be about 4.5 hours, so probably now is the time that people would really start attacking. Passing a feeding zone here, I needed a bottle. Dude, I suck at grabbing bottles from the side. Here, I tried to get this bottle, I didn't get it. In this race, I tried to grab like 3 bottles from the side and I never got one. It was super stupid. I don't know why. I need to practice this, I guess. I'll ask Daisy to stand with a bottle on the side of the road, and I'll just pass her like 100 times grabbing this bottle to practice. But I was riding. Luckily I started with 3 bottles, so I still have stuff with me. But eventually I'll need it to get some water from the side. Back on a fairly easy part. And you can see guys pushing and you know, pushing each other and going through these sharper turns. It was always a battle in between these cobbles. And these cobbles actually took a long time. There was a very long part of the race was on these bumpy streets and on these brick roads and these cobbles. So yeah, that was basically the main feature of this race and what got everybody tired. Right now we're 2.5 hours in the race, and I was making my way up to the front because I had the idea, okay, everybody's getting tired from these single file stretches of cobbles and stuff, and I'm feeling great, so I want to move up and see what's going on. If there's a move, I want to see who is going and be smart about it, and then jump with them. So I was really trying to see which guys of which team are going for an attack, and if I see multiple teams in one attack, I would go with it. So here I'm going with a few attacks. Another crash, second crash I got on camera. Usually there's more. This was another sketchy moment. Probably just a misjudgment. Luckily nothing happened. Could have been a crash. Here I'm in the front of the peloton again. You can see, looking forward, there's a couple guys going for it. They have a little gap. I figured I'll wait a little bit. Teammate of me is going after it right now, and then a lot of guys start following. So instantly I stop chasing. I just stay in the peloton because since there's so many guys following, the whole peloton would speed up and just get it back. So you really have to pay attention on, first of all, who is going for a breakaway, and then if there's guys following or not. And if there's other guys following it, of big teams or of important teams, pro teams or whatever, and they start chasing, it's not on you to do all the work. So you can just follow them and don't put your head into the wind. So that's really what I was trying to do in this race. Pay attention to who is going for a break, if there's guys trying to get this break back or not let it go, and just be sharp on that. So more attacks here from the side. I'm not too far back. I can still see a little bit what's going on. But this was really going to be a turning point in this race. I was pretty much, in the front for the last half an hour. And I'm going to pause it right here. If you look through these couple riders, you'll see a big group away. And they actually have a little gap. And people start chasing right now. So I see a lot of guys jumping for it. So like I said before, I wasn't really worried because there's so many guys up the road and there's so many guys following that I figured, just like before, the peloton would speed up and we would just ride up to them and it would fuse into one group. But on this occasion, unfortunately, I was wrong. As you can see right now, we're going pretty fast, so I was still not worried. I figured, alright, we're just chasing and we're gonna get this back. But it turns out that eventually I couldn't really see anything here because I was too far back. There's too many riders in front of me. So I tried to get up to the front to see what's going on. And here I'm moving up towards the side, but I get blocked a little bit. I get stuck. I can't go any further. There's a few riders up the road. I can see that, so I'm like, okay, I need to get up there. I want to go there. I want to jump to it because this is the time in the race. It's already 3 hours in the race, so people are getting tired. Right now is when the breakaway would happen. I'm actually screaming like, yo, go, what's going on? And I'm boxed in. There's 20 riders in front of me, there's 20 riders beside me, and there's 20 riders behind me or more. And if you look through the bikes and the riders to the right, you'll actually see people jumping and attacking on the right side right there. So there's room on the right side of the road, but there's no room on the left side where I am. So I'm just stuck and at this moment I was getting super frustrated because I can see that the guys around me they're not responding. And there's like 30 riders going up the road, and all these guys are not responding. So I'm trying to fall back. Maybe I can get to the right, but I was just boxed in. I couldn't move over. I couldn't get into a position where I was able to move forward and go after this attack. So I get stuck, and that's it. That's when it happened. 30 riders jumped away in small groups, and that was a breakaway. So why does it happen? Why doesn't the rest of all these riders around me react and speed up and close that gap? Well, it's because it's all a team sport. We are in a team, and all these riders have teammates that they saw jumping to that breakaway. And if they have 1 or 2 guys in that breakaway, they're satisfied and they're gonna let it go, because a couple teammates in a breakaway will mean a good chance to win. And if they would close that gap, then they're just reducing the odds of their teammate. And I actually had 2 teammates in that breakaway, so it was okay in terms of the team. But I didn't know that. I didn't see them actually jumping for that break, so I wasn't too sure about it. And since there were so many riders in this group I'm in, which is basically the peloton, I did not straight away see if they were gone or not. So it took me a little while until I noticed that there's actually 2 riders of my team who are in the break. And at this point I didn't know yet. So we're pushing it down on these cobbles again in the peloton while there is a breakaway. And I figured, okay, either this is where the race sort of ends, we're gonna ride to the finish and we'll never get it back. Or what happened last year, actually, I was in the peloton as well, and we got back to the breakaway and I finished in top 20. So there's still a good chance of me sprinting for a finish and actually get a good spot. And since I'm feeling very good, I was still considering a good result when it would get to a field sprint. Going through this corner again, we've been through this corner once before. So this race loop, or this race course, had a few sections actually where we did the double, especially all these cobbles. We went over it like twice or 3 times. And at this moment, I'm still trying to speed up a little bit, get to the front and stay there. And staying in the single file on the right side might be easier, but I wanted to move up, and it's hard to go around it on the side. And the best course, I thought, was just to push it a little bit on this brick little strip, since I was feeling really good. And I saw this guy in the front pushing it down pretty hard, so I was following him. I thought maybe if we attack or push hard enough on this single file cobble section, we could split off the peloton, have a little bit of an extra breakaway, maybe even close the gap to the first group, or stay away from the peloton, which would be nice as well. So yeah, I was in the front. I had good legs. I didn't want to just stop riding for the rest of the day. I don't like to be giving up halfway the race. I just want to keep it going till the end. So pushing pretty hard in the front here, seeing if there was guys coming with me, if we were able to split up. I've got a couple guys here around me. This guy is pushing hard, but looking back, no one is really working together. And this is Dion Beukenboom. He recently did a attack on the 1 hour speed record on the track. Really strong guy. He's like, yeah man, I've got teammates up there. I was like, okay. All these continental teams, they've really strict tactics. So teammates up the road means they do nothing. So I was really not gonna get any help of Vlasman, the team in yellow, that was for sure. The guy in blue would help me, this guy, and then this red guy was able to push a little bit. But for the rest, I was not gonna be counting on a lot of cooperation. So it was a matter of maybe try to attack and get away, not dragging the entire peloton, because that would, like I said before, diminish any chances of the rest of the team that was in the breakaway. So you want to get away from the peloton, but not drag the entire peloton with you. Don't do all the work for them, because then you'll just get tired yourself and kill your own chances on a good finish. Right here, I jumped hard to follow this guy from Monkey Town. Very strong pull here. We were actually really going fast, getting up to these guys that were already up the road, overtaking them and just continuing. And I thought we had maybe had a good chance to get away. We actually did have a little gap, but it just fell apart. Every time we tried to get away, we had a couple guys chasing, but they were not working. Like I said, all these guys have teammates, so they will chase, they will go with you, but as soon as you flick your arm, they do nothing. Really annoying, really frustrating, but that's how racing works, I guess. That's how it goes. So there was not really much I could do, and I tried for a while. I attacked the whole time, and I jumped with anyone who was jumping. But then I sort of realized, okay, this is not going to work. We're in this race for about 3.5 hours. We have about 45 minutes to go. We're not getting away. So staying in the peloton, just make it to the finish and then try to finish as good as I can was the plan B. And then it started raining. So yeah, we had a really nice day, but it ended in the rain. Kind of crap. So more attention to staying on the bike right now. Rain is always a risk factor. It gets slippery. It reduces your vision. Everything is less. So trying to stay on the bike. These white stripes here on the road are very slippery, so we really have to pay attention. And this is the last part to the finish, but we still have 2 loops. So there was a last loop of about 11 kilometers that we had to do 2 times until we actually finished the race. So here we are on a finishing street where we would be sprinting about 20 kilometers later. So I talked to my teammate Jasper, he's also called Jasper, who was still with me in the peloton, and he was gonna try and give me a lead out on this sprint finish. So that was still the plan. There's about 30 guys up the road, and we still wanted to finish in a good way. It's always a good practice, in my opinion, to play your team tactics, although you're not sprinting for a podium, because we don't ride as a team that much. It's always good practice. Right here you can see a guy crash. That's how slippery it was. These little red bricks right after the finish were super slippery. Grabbing a bottle here. Yes, I made it. Thank you, Stefan. He was a rider actually. He dropped out of the race and then he handed me a bottle. So that's a really good teammate. Just right after the race, getting on the side of the road and giving his other teammates some water from the side. Thank you very much. This is the last lap, was 11 kilometers. And yeah, it's just maintaining good position. I was in the front the whole time, like in the first 15-20 riders. I wanted to stay in the front because I wanted to be ready for that sprint. And Jasper, my teammate, was close behind me, and we were gonna set up a little 2-man or 1-man lead out actually for that last straightaway. We talked about it actually already before the race, like what if we end up in the finish and we're still together, how are we gonna do this? So he sort of knew what he had to do, and I was gonna follow him, and he actually did a very good job. And it's raining. My camera on the front died, unfortunately, but I still have the data. So we're gonna have a look at that last straightaway, because my legs were actually still pretty good after 4.5 hours of racing. After almost 200 kilometers, I was still able to push off a very good sprint, which was it doesn't happen all the time. I'm very tired after a long race, but in this case I was still able to sprint off pretty good. So this is that last loop. We're looking at Google Maps and the GPS data right now. It's 11 kilometers. Also a lot of tight turns, twists and bends, which was in the entire race actually. So it was nothing new. Right now coming up to these big roads, and then Jasper got in front of me. Here he was pushing me, pulling me to the front, and then full gas. I stepped on it. I went full power on this last straightaway that you've seen the footage from one of the previous laps. Here I was still able to push around 1400 watts and finish. I think I finished the second or third guy out of the peloton. So that was still pretty good. I was still happy doing 60 kilometers an hour here in the sprint finish. My two teammates that got into that breakaway, unfortunately one of them had a flat and the other one crashed. So they didn't really were able to finish very well. But yeah, that's racing.
Dude, golden legs today. I think I've never felt this good since like 10 months. The hard moments in the race, I could easily keep up. The positioning was pretty on point the whole time. I just felt really good. And then, out of nothing, after about 2 hours, I'm stuck on the side of the road in the peloton. And just a group of 50 riders takes off. And that's it. So compared to last year, especially the cobbles, I felt really good today. Last year I was struggling a lot to keep up, but today it felt easy. So it's kind of frustrating because I was feeling really good. My positioning was on point the whole time, and then I don't know, weird moment, and I get caught up in the back, and that's it. That's the race. Quick shower, feeling a lot better. You know what's really crap about today? I felt really good, and that doesn't happen a lot. First of all, I don't race a lot of races, and then the races that I do race are either with a jet lag or without sleep or with bad legs. So when I race a race like today and I feel the legs are really good, I want to perform well, and that didn't really happen today. So that's what I feel crap about. But I feel really good about the fact that my legs are really good, which has taken me like 10 months. So short team meeting, a post-ride meeting. Yeah, we did pretty good as a team actually today. So not too bad. Do you hear that? Lightning and thunder. It's gonna go crazy. So I'm happy we're in. I actually feel really good about today, weird enough. The rain was kind of crap. I'm kind of pissed off that I missed that break. It has something to do with tactical skills and stuff, but I think I was doing pretty well in the front all day until that moment. So that's it. We pulled off a really good sprint. Jasper, my teammate, he did a really nice lead out, so thanks for that. And next week I'm racing in LA again. Finally some races in LA. I'm gonna do 2 races in 1 weekend, so stay tuned for that. As always, don't forget to subscribe. I'm gonna see you next time. See ya!